Hello and welcome to this video. We're going to look on basic retouching. So what we're going to do it is take our basic image and step in a camera raw through the bridge. So we'll select image and we're going inside the Photoshop and we'll have it basic workflow of retouching to create your portraits and just leave it also color correction. So in the end you will have it nice, clean, stylized photos. And we're going all of this step by step, what we can do, what kind of effects we can what kind of retouching we can apply, how they work, how the mask work, what they do, how they curve. So we're going over all of these elements just to be sure you kind of understand how they're doing, and introduce you to some different tools inside the Photoshop. So let's go ahead and start working on our image. Let's begin by selecting the photo, and I think this one will represent very well. We don't want to start with something very complex retouch. We're going with a basic, so we'll see all those steps kind of help you to create and understanding how retouching work inside the Photoshop. So we'll go select open photos, and I'm working in Adobe Bridge, and this is a raw format file shot on Canon 5D. So we'll go ahead and double time click open, and you can see it's open right now in Camera Raw. It's version 12.2. I'm using Photoshop CC, so whatever its latest versions Photoshop release it, as well as Camera Raw, it's will updating. There are a couple things I want said before we retouching. If you look on the bottom right, we have it Adobe RGB, tell all this format that is currently using systems. So let's go ahead and click on this link, and it will open our workflow options where we can specify color space and a depth. This is what most important for me. I want to use the Adobe RGB because this format you work. You can also work on sRGB or any other format that you're familiar. If you're not familiar with color space, don't worry about this. I will recommend use sRGB or Adobe RGB. Again, currently it's what I'm using, but important mostly I want to be sure it's a 16-bit channel. What's happening when we open after in Photoshop, it will provide more information for our image. And this is a little bit more complicated. We can go inside, explain what is going with bits and other stuff, but overall keep it just for now in mind. 8-bit, you will have it much less color information in your image, save it, so you will have it those kind of bending and bridging inside your image where you use the gradients. On a 16-bit you won't have it. However, most on the web you will display an 8-bit, so when you save, you'll save as 8-bit, but on the bright side we'll have it our original high resolution, so we can preserve for the future use. Let's go ahead, click OK, and our image is set. Next, we'll go on our right side, and we'll go and click on element where it's showing the lens correction. You can see it's almost look like a lens. And what I want to use is these two properties. One, it says remove chromatic abbreviation, and chromatic abbreviation, it's a problem that happen with the lenses, mostly on the edges. And if we come closer, right here, actually, you cannot don't see that much, but you can see kind of right there a little bit purplish and cyan. You see how distortion going, and this is because lens, how diffraction lights working, other stuff. But if we enable remove chromatic abbreviation, you can see how these elements already gone. Again, before you can see coloring, like right here you see the cyan and reddish, and we enable, and it's kind of fixing those. The abbreviation might happen for different reasons, but overall, almost all the time, I enable to fix some of those problems that is not really an image, but it introduced by the lenses. Okay, next, enable profile correction. This will fix it some vignetting around and some lens distortion. This one is optional. Sometimes I like to leave as is, like this, or sometimes I want to bring in. For purpose, let's go check in. So we'll have it to enable remove chromatic aberration and enable profile. And Adobe Bridge, Adobe Camera Raw, they're kind of very smart. You can see right here to recognize what lens was using and what kind of profile apply this. So I don't need to worry about that. Next, let's go ahead and click on the basic settings. And in basic settings, most important for me, it is highlights and shadows. This is very good settings because let's go ahead and see what's happening if we take highlights down. You can see how it's fixing some of those whites. And what's happening in many cameras when you shoot in a RAW, the camera saves more information than you can currently see. So some stuff you can actually recover. If it's too bright or too dark, you can still restore it. And about restorations, here's interesting things. You can quite a bit save going in darker highlights, but you cannot going to save in the increasing shadows. And main reason because in a dark area, when you don't have information, then it's need to introduce more information. And if it does not have it, it will create noise. So let's go right here. We come closer and see what's happening when I introduce more shadows. You can see now it is lighter, but it's introduced some of this information that was missing there. However, we don't need to go that high, but we can bring just a little bit so we have it enough to bring a bit more information. Problem when you use highlights and shadows, it is flatten a little bit your image. What I mean by flatten, it's take contrast and kind of make a little bit flatten that line, so the brighter is getting a little bit darker and darker a little bit up. So if you draw the line, and I'll show you a little bit later with a curve, you'll notice how one end going down, other one's going up, and overall we don't have that high contrast, or not even high, even normal contrast we start losing in the image. And in some cases, like background is okay, it's what I want to do. I want to introduce some of things, but what is suffering mostly I found it is skin tones on a skin. To restore some of that curving, we're going inside the this will be for tab, and it's called HSL adjustments, luminous, and we'll work with red and orange because this is mostly what represent our skin. So we'll take this orange and we'll just move a little bit up toward whites and see what's happening. We reintroduce some of those highlights we lost, but if you check sky or shadows, we do not affect them, which is kind of nice. In the current station, we have our building, which has some warmer colors, and we'll introduce, so we'll need to be a little bit careful how we do this. And let's do the same with the red. Nice things knowing about red. Say if we're going down, we have some skin imperfection pop up, so we can bring up. And in some cases, if you have a little bit reddish nose, like right here nose, just a little bit reddish than skin, I want to go to saturation, red, and just take literally just a little bit down. So we don't need to have this dead lips kind of looking, but we'll take just a little bit, like maybe -8 to reduce a little bit saturation and reddish. It will also make for us in the future work a little bit easy to adjust. So far, what we did, we fixed our lens correction, we fixed our general settings, we adjust a little bit in our luminance and saturation and color. The last step before we're going, I want to add a sharpness, and I want to bring sharpness to maybe about 60-70. Because it's shot on a camera Canon 5D, it's have an in-camera anti-aliasing, so it's kind of unsharpening some edges. And by bringing to about 70, it's allowed me restore some of that sharpness to what lost. Okay, I think it's image prepared for Photoshop very good. We'll go ahead and click Open Image. Notice I did not open as the object or copy, so I'm just holding no buttons pressed down and open as image. You always can open as object if you prefer that way by holding down Shift key, and you can see the button is changed from Open Image to Open Object, and you can open. But again, for me, as we work, Open Image will work. We work non-destructively, and I don't work necessarily on the first image. So right here, let's me resize it. Next, what I mean by non-destructive by looking at this, it's meaning we still preserve our original image. What are we going to apply all adjustments and changes on the new layers that we can mix them, remove it, change, delete it, or adding new. So first things when I'm looking on this image, it is we do have it freckles, and they're very nice. I like to keep it, but some of them maybe will be distracting, like this one a little bit too big. We want to remove it, and also a little bit reddish on the skins in some areas. So let's do this way. We'll go create a new layer. We'll double time click on a name, and let's call it retouch. Next, we won't go in very complex techniques. Again, we're just starting, but we're going to select the healing brush. We don't want spot healing brush tool. They work slightly different. Healing spot will require you to take what area you want sample, and it works somewhat closer to area for frequency separation. So it will separate layers and take smaller texturing and will adjust. So we don't need to worry too much about that right now. It's more advanced techniques, but it will help us in current situation to fix it. So also one thing what I recommend for you, if you not yet know, use a keyboard in Photoshop. Learn at least one keyboard per session, one key shortcut per session. So it will help you in the future to do faster work. For example, I select the tool, but I want to increase brush size. I can go inside and click selecting or left, right click and select just this as adjustments, but it's much easier if you're just using your bracket key. And bracket key, the left and right allowed increase, left decrease. So in this case, you can press them very fast doing this. Okay, we select our brush, we're selecting our size for the brush. So let's go fix this. We'll go on down, hold down Alt key, and you can see it switched to this kind of icon. So we target, and I'm targeting for the texture. So I'm going to target around this area and left click, now release. And notice when I go over, it's showing me preview. So and I'm going dragging, and there you go, it's done. Okay, let's go ahead again, selecting. And I'm just will go around, and I'm trying to select in a similar shadowed area. Sometimes you want to do several, like right there. This is important. This is kind of reddish color I want to get rid of. So, and sometimes I need to take few passes. Right there. It was a little bit off focus because we try to focus this area. That is okay. And we'll look how we can restore a little bit of that. Okay, also if you hold down space bar, the hand appears, so you can left click and move around your image. I don't worry about too much those small things, we'll fix them. We just only fix, let's go. Okay. Let's zoom out. Let's go closer to the shoulder. And this is okay, actually I like freckles, but I think there was a little bit too much distraction from the face. Here's an edge, and let's see what's happening. If I go up closer, you see it's kind of smudging. So what we want to do for this case, where we have an edge, we want to bring our on edge, target, left click to lock it, and when I bring closer, I bring with the edge, and ta-da, it's done. So let's go this way. Okay, we're fixed here. Let's look around. Just leave it those small distractions. Like I said before, sometimes you want to leave the freckles there. It's up to you. I just think there was a little bit too take attention from our eyes. Again, and this will be before and after. So it's very simple. Touch up, it's what we want to do first step. Next, what I want to do, it is add a little bit more shape and dimension. So we did flatten, but if we look at our image, our distinguish between how shape going, it is based on a shadows and highlights. Because traditionally we look right here on the nose and you can see how highlights going closer to her nose. Okay, let's go ahead, bring in. And right here you can see the highlight. And right here is a shadow. So we have a little bit shadow by the eyes and highlights on the chin. So this is traditional because lights go from top. It's what we used to. And by increasing or decreasing those shadows, it will help us to add a little bit more dimension to this. So for this, it's very common tool using. It's called dodge and burn, and it's come from old photography school when you used to do. And even right here, tool, that is, you use it sometimes for right here, dodge and burn tool. It is representing some of those tools that was using in traditional in a film photography before. But we're going to do with new things in Photoshop because it's digital. So for this, we'll go create a new layer. Let's go call dodge and burn. And what I want to do is go to edit, fill tool, and we'll go to fill with 50% gray, normal mode, 100% opacity. So as we click OK, everything turn gray screen. So now we'll use it new things, if you're not familiar, called blend modes. Blend modes, they're located in our layer navigation. And right here it says currently normal mode. So what it allowed us to tell how this layer will interact with layers below. And for this one, it's need a very kind of large, extensive tutorial how to going with all these layers, but don't be scared or anything. So what we're going to use is just soft light. Soft light, it's very interesting blending mode. It's based on a contrast, and it is if 50% gray, it's make invisible. It's how it's interact with layers below. If you make a little bit brighter, it will increase as a contrast will increase on the white, and it will be add shadows on the black. So let's go ahead, select soft light. An example, we'll go select the tool brush. You know what, let me change this brush to soft round, okay, smaller. And also I want to be sure my opacity set to 10%. And then you know what, let's set a little bit lower on the flow, about 50. I'm going to set, actually, you know what, as example, let's go set to 100% opacity. And notice what's happened right now. It's a black. So what's happening if I draw, see how it darker become? And if I switch to the white color and draw, it's add highlights. And you can see it's add highlights and darker. This is actually what we're going to do. So I'm going to set back to 10% my opacity. Brush is need to be soft. And with a black color, right here selected black, I will just start adding slowly shadows and elements where I think they need to kind of a little bit represent. Let's look, for example, on the lips, how its techniques will work. So if I'm going to select, and I will add shadows a little bit on the bottom, a little bit on the top where is the casting. But what it will make lips look a little bit more puffy or shiny. It will make if they more pop up with highlights. So if we take, actually set to the white, by the way, if you're using X key, notice what's happening. It switches between black and white. So sometimes it's nice when you do retouching, if you just use this. So now I draw a smaller line right here, bright line here. Let's do a bright line slightly right here. Okay. Select it back to the black. Add a little bit more shadowing. Remember, we're working with the highlights. So just want to add a little bit more highlights here. And maybe just a little bit on upper lip. So we touch up these lips, yeah? And let's zoom out and watch what's happening. This was before and is happening after. You can see we add a little bit this volume, a little bit create more puffier lips just with playing with shadow and highlights. Okay, right here it's look kind of a little bit wrong. So we can go ahead, just fix a little bit this area. There you go, a little bit better. Same techniques, you can apply just a little bit highlights if you want. Wide up, we don't need wide up too much, just a little bit in the eyes. Okay, let's zoom out. And you can see before and after. And at these techniques, dodge and burn, it is require some practice. In many cases, you almost want to take an anatomy book, look inside. But best one kind of save things if you just go over where the highlights currently and just add shadows to the shadows and highlights to highlights. You will get a good result on this. So I'm just adding a little bit more right here, highlights in some areas right there. Let's add a little bit on the nose right there. And chin. Okay, so it is when you work, seems you don't do too much work till you start turning on and off layer, and then you start seeing a little bit different. Okay, so we add shadow and highlights. Let's go next, add a little bit more to the eyes, bring eyes a little bit out. We can do this with contrast. And we're going to create new adjustment layer, and we'll select the curves. And you remember before I told you about the flatten or other things? This is what it does when we do flatten. So we bring shadows and highlights down. You can see how it's get no contrast. We do have it some coloring, but no contrast. So and this is what in curves and some basic. It's how we can set position for our shadows and highlights. Let's look first on the curve, what we have right here. Our left bottom, and you can see where is a dark, it's our black point. So we can adjust our black contrast going up and down. And this also can work as a colors. Right now we're going with RGB for all colors. Our top one is our highlights, and we can take brighter highlights or take highlights down. And of course, if we add click anywhere, it will add point, and we can do like mid-tones, work with this. Click delete to destroy, remove that point. Again, this is kind of complex and a lot of stuff involved here, but we won't worry about that at this point. What we want to do is just adjust some stuff that will help us to work. Mostly I want to look on the eyes, and remember I speak about blend mode. We go switch to the overlay. Overlay, it's similar contrast based mode, but you can notice it's add quite a bit saturation effect to ours. And I'm looking just on the eyes. I'm ignoring everything else. And what I want to do with eyes, I want to create, kind of bring these dots up so they will look a little bit more contrast color in them. If I look overall on the image, it's look not very good. I don't want to apply this to everyone. I want just apply it to the eyes. And for this, we're going to use mask. If you're not familiar with the mask is what allowed us to filter down specific areas to tell, kind of like almost you have a page and you erase some elements from there, and it's semi-transparent, so it can go. So let me show you very fast what is happening. If I create new layer, and I will take a brush, maybe 100% black, and I'll just start drawing. Okay, let's go to right here. So I'm drawing on this brush. So I did some stuff. And now, if I don't want this going everywhere, I want to limit it, I can create a new mask. And you can see right on the side, this is a mask. And this mask now, if I paint with a black, it will make non-transparent, so it will make transparent, sorry, about it. So you can see right here, it's hiding. It's still there. You know what I mean? Right here, you can see it still be there. Let me undo this. That is a mask. It's what I did. Those elements that we kind of hide it, but rest in this. And so with a mask, for example, if I want to apply black anywhere, I'll just take with black color and remove everywhere where I don't want it. But I leave it just in one place where I want it. Again, nice things about this, I can always switch back to the white and restore some elements because I do not touch my original image. I'm just using colors to display and says which area I want to apply that image or that effect or other things and where I don't want it. So let's go ahead, throw this away. We'll go back to what we're creating. And now when it's selecting our mask, we press Ctrl or Command I, and it will inverse. And you can see now it's become black color. And as a black, all our effect that we did become invisible. So it does not apply anywhere. To make it visible, we want to use the white color. And I always prefer start with very low opacity. And we come zoom very close to the eyes. Be sure our brush is right size. And slightly start painting in. Right here, so we'll paint one eye. We'll paint a little bit second eye. And you can see we added a little bit more color and contrast. So let's zoom out. And we can go before and after. So in some cases, you can see how it's glowing. I don't know if it's good or not. Let's fix this as well. But fixing how much of effect is applied, we have options with our opacity. So we'll take our opacity and take it down. And this opacity, you can see it's allowed with slider, apply a difference. So I'm just bring just maybe about 50% of effect. And that way I will have it nice eyes that stand out a little bit better than before. Right here. And it's kind of give it attention and it's add a little bit contrast, somewhat sharpness and interesting coloring. You not necessarily need to apply to this. Sometimes what I found out, it's worked very well. It's like jewelry. So for example, if I want to add a little bit more shyness to the jewelry, I probably just use same layer, the contact here, and I can go ahead and paint over the jewelry. Will add a little bit more sparks. Again, we can go ahead and create a new layer for this, but in many cases, this one will work just as well. Same, it just will add a little bit more shyness to our jewelry. Okay, let's zoom out. One thing you'll notice when we're creating new layers, and this is what called non-destructive. So we did not touch our original image, and if I want to turn it off, we can go all back to our original as we did before. So let's go ahead and restore all of them. So the next steps, will be apply as effect of skin smoothing, and this is totally optional and depends how you're doing or for what. So what's happening if we go and look on an image very close, we'll notice sometimes it's have this kind of little bit distortion on the skin. And in some cases, I want to create this nice painting smooth effect. And this is what we're going to use techniques to smooth the skin. So for this, we'll hold down on a PC, press Ctrl Shift Alt E at the same time. On a Mac, it's Command Shift Option E, and it will take all visible layers, merge them in a new layer. And you can see it's create for us this new layer, which have it all changes below. So this is what I want to do. On this layer, I want now go to Filter, Noise, and go to Dust and Scratches. This is very nice tool because it is remove dust scratches, but it does apply this almost painting effect. Very good for the skin and some elements where we want to remove some noise, but we don't want to apply like this because it's lost a lot of details. But what we're going to do, we'll click first OK, and we'll use the masks that we had before. So we go down and we'll click on a mask. Before click on a mask, hold down, let me undo this, hold down Alt or Option key and click on a mask. And that's what's happening, it will create inverse the mask. So like before, you remember we have the white mask and we press Command or Control I to inverse. Now you don't need to do this. If you hold down Alt or Option key and click, it will already create inverse and hide everything from on this layer. Now we want to make this layer is visible. We'll come closer. We'll set our brush, again soft, very soft tool, and we'll start slowly brushing in. You'll notice as we're brushing in, some details will disappear, and it's remove some of details, remove contrast. So be careful how you use this. If you take too far away, you can create a very plasticky skin. It's not bad because sometimes if I want to have an effect on this kind of ceramic skin, I will go very crazy with this effect, or I want to hide something. But for the skin, I want to preserve some information on the skin, but I want smooth. And you can see like right here, example on the nose, before and after, we just little bit smooth out some of those details. Okay, so right here, let's go. We'll smooth a little bit more. Again, this will take a little bit practice. If it does not look right first time when you do, don't worry about this. Just the more you do, the better it will become. Okay, right here, and let's smooth. And you can see some of these elements, like she have it, some texture gonna skin, and I want just a little bit flatten here to remove some attention. Again, this is you're creating almost your own digital art, and that's how you want to people perceive, to try them see in a way you saw this image or you want them see. Okay, so right here, if we look, you can see before and after. Kind of a little bit hard to see from this, but look right there, for example, we have some distortion on skins. Kind of smooth them down. We don't remove them, we'll just make them a little bit less standing out, so make a little bit more pleasant for us. And if we look on the mask, this is how our mask looks. So you can see where we allowed that effect going through the outer layer. So black area, it's where this effect not applied to image below, but always white, it's where allowed. You can do this preview by going over the mask and hold down Alt or Option on the Mac and left click. Okay, so we added all these effects. You know what? In some cases, I want to create my the hair look a little bit better. So this is, we'll do a couple more layers for this. The one will go to same, Control Shift Alt E, Command Option Alt E to take all and create new layers. So it will be our hair, and we're going to filter, stylize, oil painting. So oil painting, it will give it some of this fiber look to us. It's what we want on the hair, but we don't want everywhere. So for this, we'll go stylization 10, cleanliness. Let's just, in this case, we'll maybe just go about 5. Okay, scale 1. And you can kind of a little bit play with these settings, but overall, you want higher stylization. Cleanliness depend how you prefer. Lower, you can see more details. This work better on a curly hair or fur. On a long hair, you want your cleanliness a little bit higher number, or maybe even 7. Scale, we want the smallest as possible to detect edges. And bristle, it is, you can see it's apply these elements like shadowing. So sometimes we want a little bit less bristle. We'll go with it maybe about 2, 3. Okay, let's go ahead, click OK. And you can see it's apply everywhere. Again, we don't want this effect everywhere. We want just on a hair. So same, we'll hold down Alt or Option key and click on a mask. And at this point, we're ready to same. Used our brush, same techniques like we did before. And we'll just paint in. So what I'm going to just paint over hair areas. That will clean up some of the hair. Will remove some of the noise, and mostly why it's work this way, because it's remove some of the horizontal to the fiber noise and increase maybe more a bit in vertical or parallel to the hair fiber. Let's give it perception of this cleanness painting effect. Okay, let's look right here. We have it before and after. Again, not very much. It will be more visible in lighter hair, but it does add some cleanness a little bit to ours. Okay, next I want to add overall texturing to this, restoring some of the nice texture, not some other elements. And again, we'll do this by creating Control Shift Alt E, Command Option Alt E, create new layer, and we'll call this Global Dodge and Burn. So for this one, we'll go to Image Adjustment, Black and White. And I want to bring a little bit red and yellow skin tones. I want to bring a little bit up them. Click OK. Now we'll go to Image Adjustments. We'll go to Shadow and Highlights. And if you see like this short menu, click on this Show More Options. It will expand it. And we'll take amount on the shadows 100%, amount of the highlights 100%. Radius, let's say it's about 10 or 11 pixels. And I want to take tones and bring them down. This can be a little bit confusing. But if you remember, we work with our mode soft light. With the 50% gray, it's have no effect on the image. But everything is darker, make a little bit, add contrast to the darker area or add contrast to the light area. And that's what I want. I want to add a little bit more to those dark and light areas. Okay. Maybe around like this. We'll click OK and change blending mode to the soft light. Okay, if we look now on image, you can see it's restore a little bit of this contrast. Again, I don't want to apply that hard, so we'll take a little bit down and bring to about 30%. Okay, I think we're kind of done. What I want to do at this moment, take all of this retouching, group them together. Okay, and we'll spray retouching. There you go. I misspell again. Sometimes the fingers push wrong keys. Okay, and this is before and after. It's not very dramatic, big change, but it does kind of clean up a little bit. And next, what I want to do is add a little bit more color toning and correction, and this is totally personal things. So usually what I do, I can use it curves, but we'll use something different. We'll go to use it selective colors, and in selective colors you can notice in the properties we have black, neutral, and white. It's what we're going to use it. We take our black color and see what we can do. We can actually increase, decrease. So I will take a little bit flatten, softer look, a little bit more pastel kind of romantic look on this. Okay, I feel like sometimes when it's crushed black and darker, it's more aggressive contrast, give you some more actiony. And if we want to make softer, we can do this softer black, make pastels, nice kind of look. Okay, and in a black also it's really affecting. I'm toning, and notice we have it yellow, which is going from black, blue to yellow. We have this kind of opposite color. So I'm going to, in minus, I'm adding a little bit more bluish color to the shadowing. Okay, and just a little bit pitch of green and pitch of cyan. So create colder elements by setting on the opposite palette with colors colder and warmer. We can create nice combination on the colors. Okay, next we'll go to the neutrals. And if you see what's neutrals, it's mostly almost everything here. So same, I want to just bring neutrals just a bit flatten. And we can also bring this slightly to warmer. So opposite from what we had before. And I'm going just a bit of the green, warm. And maybe just a bit right there. So create this nice combination between warm, cold colors. Let's go look on white highlights. And this is our highlights. I'll bring highlights a little bit up. And I want them going in a warm directions everywhere. So let's preview our coloring. You can see we applied. Of course, the selective color is a very powerful tool because we can also take just different yellow colors and just work a little bit more on a yellow colors. Just make them a little bit warmer. Same with the red channel. You can see we can modify. We don't necessarily want to do this, but just showing you it's powerful. But stick for now just to black, neutrals, and white. And mostly with neutrals and black, those is two ones that will have more effect. Okay, I think it's look nice for the beginning retouching. We'll provide quite a bit of information for you to play around. But again, we'll did our simple retouching, and we'll did also simple kind of stylizing color adjustment overall. I hope you like this video. If you do, please subscribe more on our YouTube channel to get notifications when new videos is released. And your support greatly appreciated on YouTube or Patreon. Thank you again, and have a fun time to retouching your photos.